Hello, welcome. Today I want to talk about life. Life is a serious thing, you know. Of course, when we're little children and young people, we want to have a good time. We want to have a lot of fun, and that's the way the good Lord intended it. That little children should be full of joy and have a good time. Within boundaries, of course, under the watchful eye of the aware, loving parent. But as you get older, okay, you begin to see that life is a serious thing. You have only a limited amount of time upon this earth within which to find out the purpose of your existence, okay, and to do good and to avoid evil, and maybe discover the secret to life. Now, it's a marvelous journey. It's an adventure. It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark or Star Trek or Star Wars, something like that. But most people never get started. They get bogged down in the little stuff, in the details. They get bogged down. Remember Christ told a parable about the sower of the seed? And some of the seed fell on good ground and sprung up, but then what happened? It was overcome by weeds, I think. And then they asked Christ, "What does that mean?" He says, "Well, people get started toward finding out the purpose for their existence, the reason for life, and then they get choked by the cares of the world, okay, or the entitlements. You know, like if you have a nice plant, then weeds grow around it, then pretty soon the weeds take over. Don't leave any, crowd out the good plant. Well, people's search gets crowded out by the cares of the world and also its enticements. So what happens to people is that they get sidetracked and bogged down in what? Oh, incidentally, my new series is just a wonderful series. It's called Starting Over. And I have it with my Shedding Shackles videos. That's my new website, Shedding Shackles. Okay? So if you want to find my new video lectures about starting over, you go to talktoapastor.org, talktoapastor.org, or commonsensecounseling.org, or sheddingshackles.com. Go to any of those and look for the Starting Over series of lectures. But so people get bought. So that's what my new concept is about: shedding the shackles of the past. So what do people get bogged down with that ties them down and binds them and keeps them from ever finding the reason for their existence? Well, first of all, resentment, anger, see, against other people. Being seduced by exciting things on the outside, the peer group. See, getting caught up in the peer group, caught up with friends and social media and the iPhone, all that stuff, caught up in it. See, becomes too important. Now, a long time ago, if you had a little family growing up on maybe a farm or a ranch, in a community, small community with other farms and ranches maybe, well, then the children would learn at home, maybe a little bit in a school. There might have been one school there, but for the most part, they were working. They had to work on a ranch or a farm, so there wasn't a lot of time for school. But they would learn by reading books at home and doing math. But they were with their family most of the time. Their family, working with their mom, with their dad, being with their brothers and sisters. See, that was their life. And it wasn't going off to some warehouse, to some school with hundreds of kids, many from rotten homes, and then basically being forced by the pressure, which kids cannot withstand that pressure. They're not strong enough. The pressure to conform, the drug pressure, the sex pressure, the socialization pressure, the culture, everybody's wearing the same shoes and the same clothes. See? So they get all caught up in that. That can rob you of eternal life. Okay? Or you can get caught up in resenting your dad, resenting your mom, resenting someone who did something to you, resenting some people who you think are getting being treated more fairly than you are, or something like that. It can rob you of getting caught up in a resentment. Can rob you of eternal life. Getting caught up with anything is potentially fatal. See, you could be driving down the freeway, driving down the road, and suddenly reach for something that you make too important. Reach for a CD, or changing the playlist on your MP3, or something that you made too important. Take your eyes off the road, and in that moment, when you're not aware, when you're caught up by something that's grabbed your attention, see, that's when tragedy can strike. Or you're walking down the street and you're not aware because you're caught up in texting. Okay, so you're texting someone. You're walking along texting, and the mugger sees you. He sees you're caught up with something. He sees you're not aware. He sees he can sneak up on you. See? And there's also spiritual danger lurking. Spiritual danger. See, there is such a thing as evil. You can't taste it, touch it, smell it, but it exists. And it is there to put a wrong idea in your mind when you've made something too important and you're not paying attention and you're not doing a reality check. It'll put a wrong idea in your mind. So if you're caught up with some game, you're caught up in something you make too important, like somebody else gets a promotion and you didn't, and so you're filled with rage. Or they get a raise and you didn't, and you're filled with rage because you felt you were deserving of it. You can get so caught up in that, see, in that resentment, that wrong ideas can appear in your mind. So a good rule of thumb is never make anything more important than what is right in your heart, and what you know is right in your heart. Never make anything more important. Stand, take a mental step back. You catch yourself getting caught up with some music, take a step back. If you're getting lost in a television show, take a step back. If you're getting lost in a video game, take a step back. Take a step back. If you're getting caught up in a conversation with someone, take a step back. Okay? Anything that you make too important, having something, having a car or shoes, or anything that you make too important. Trying to prove something to someone. See, trying to convince someone of something. A grade, a promotion, a job. See, anything that you make too important. More important than what you know is right in your heart. Will lead to unawareness. And in that unawareness, see, that's when the mugger, the robber, the person who's up to no good makes their approach, because your shields are down. See, when you're very aware, for example, if you were to practice my meditation, learn to be aware by becoming aware of your hands and closing your eye, learning to practice a little meditation and then carry that meditative state out into the world with you. Okay? Then that meditative state would help you to snap out. See? Even the thoughts represent our having reacted to temptation. So if you catch yourself lost in thinking, why did she say that? Why did he do that? See? It was something you made too important. And now you're reliving it in your mind. But you're lost in your thoughts, so you're unaware. Anything you're planning that you're making too important. See? Anything that you're daydreaming about making a big impression upon someone or something. Any of those daydreams. Even just losing yourself in some fantasy you have a lowered awareness. You're not totally there. And in a sense, your shields are down. Remember in Star Trek, remember the television series? They had the Starship Enterprise had shields that they would put up that would protect them, and it would cause the weapons that the other ships would fire at them, it would cause it just to bounce off. But if the shields were down, then they were unprotected. Well, when you're very aware, you're not lost in daydreams or reliving the past or planning and scheming. You're very aware. And you are attentive to the rightness of things. See, you're ready to do the right thing. So you always kind of are a little bit attentive to the rightness of things. Then your shields are up, and you're not angry, and you're not resentful, and you're not overly excited. See? And you're calm, then your shields are up. It's like a protective force field. No, the bad cannot get in, only good can come out. Okay, so I think I'll just leave it at that. Something for you to ponder and perhaps think about, and maybe try the meditation. But I want to say something about the meditation too. I was looking at comments for some of my YouTubes. Most of my YouTubes I don't have comments, but once in a while, actually one of them gets by me. I forget to unclick it, so they're there for comments. And then I saw there was comments on one of them. Was some lady, and then she was trying the meditation, and she said, "Well, my hands are getting a little bit warm, and when I close my eyes, I do see a little patterns of light on the inside of my eyelids." Okay, well, she found that's it. Okay, she said, I don't know if I really am focusing. Well, the idea is not to focus. The idea is to defocus. She thought you have to focus. No, the idea is to defocus. See, remember what the very important lesson that I gave in this video. I said, never make anything more important than what you know in your heart is right. There's the apocryphal story of two little boys playing on the bank. I didn't come up with this story. I heard it. It's a very good story. With little boats, little wooden boats, I guess, on the bank of the river, playing with their little wooden boats. And both boys, their little boat got away from them and started to float downstream toward the rapids. One boy jumped into the water to go get his boat. It was too important. Jumped into the water, and then he was carried away and drowned. Okay? But the other little boy, he was about to jump to the water to get his boat, but then something made him stay back. He didn't go in the water. The boat floated away, but he was safe. He was safe. He didn't make it too important. Okay? There's a very great lesson in that about life. So don't make anything too important other than what you know is right in your heart. So what I was saying was that she thought you have to focus. No, the idea is to defocus. Oh, so what I was going to say is if you're concentrating, if you're concentrating on something somebody told you to, then that actually puts you into a hypnotic trance state. You're not fully aware when you're concentrating on something, focusing on something. You have to learn to defocus. That's what you have to learn to do, is to defocus. Get the big picture. Take a mental step back. Okay? All right. Well, and the other thing I wanted to say is that, okay, she seemed to have found it, but then but then didn't hear anything else from her, so she probably gave it up. See, a lot of people, they try the meditation one time and say, oh, I don't know. Or they try it a little bit and let go. They try it for a couple of days and then see, but you can't do that. See, you can't play around with life, with reality, with the special gift of awareness that you have. See, so if you do the meditation, you have to be committed. You have to get started and then stick with it. Stick with it, see? But once you do, well, then you'll begin to make wonderful discoveries and you'll see the benefits of it. And then when that happens, then you'll never stop. You never will. So there's a little hurdle that you got to get over. First hurdle is just dragging yourself to the chair in your room, closing the door, sitting in the chair and becoming still. Okay? Which for some people is a very big hurdle because they start to get anxious and they start to want to reach for something. Truth begins to dawn, reality begins to dawn, which is not what they don't want reality, they don't want truth. See? But if you have an attitude where you do want the truth, even though it might be a little painful, if somebody tells you the truth, if you find out the truth about your own wrong, okay, well, your ego doesn't like it, but it's good for you. Okay, it's good for you. It's like a math at school, the good teacher will correct your work so that you can see your error and not make mistakes anymore. Well, you don't enjoy the correction, but it's good for you. See? My name is Roland.